Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to Safari Mack Explores North America. I'm your guide and your host, helping you make connections to the wild. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed our prowl with the Florida Panther last week. But today we have to say goodbye to our rare feline and meet a special first. Today we actually get to meet one of our first reptiles in all of Safari Mack. And I thought today we would start with one of the most iconic of reptiles in all of North America, as well as part of the world. Meet the American alligator, or as it's also known by its Latin name, Alligator mississippianus. But before we begin, as always, thank you for taking the time to join me on my journey. Hit the like and subscribe button, share my content with your friends, check out my Facebook page so that you can see special conservation messages as well as updates from different zoos and aquariums all over the world, and even tips for how you can practice conservation at home. And if you still have questions, feel free to send me an email, which you'll always find the link to down in the description below. But if you're ready, I'm ready. Let's head back to the swamp. First of all, let's talk about the alligator's family as a whole. So this special kind of reptile, which has originally been seen as a bit of a monster, though they should not be really seen as monsters, but this is also something that you really shouldn't take lightly. This is a dangerous animal that we need to give respect to. It's a part of a very special and well-feared family, the crocodilians. This includes crocodiles, caimans, and the gharials. So these special reptiles are found almost all over the world in either subtropical or tropical settings. So parts of North America, parts of Asia, almost all of Africa, as well as Australia, and a good portion of South America. But now let's talk a little bit about their evolution. Believe it or not, the crocodilian family was thought to have originated back in the Triassic period, or one of the first stages in what we call the Mesozoic era, or the Age of Reptiles, alongside with the dinosaurs. But now I want to talk to you about one of my favorite extinct crocodilians. Meet Deinosuchus, a crocodile that was so large that it actually hunted dinosaurs. But now, where did this guy originally come from? Now, fossils have been found of these creatures in different parts of North America, especially inland. That's because 75 million years ago, at the time when it was making its mark on the planet, part of North America was actually underwater because of a vast inland sea. So these swampy coastlines provided the ideal habitat for this magnificent predator. And now, if you really wanted to get a better idea of how big these creatures were, here's an average, probably 6-foot human, and here's the Deinosuchus. So you can see it's almost 6 feet. It would have probably almost have been 6 feet tall, or at least if its head was up. And from the tip of its snout to the tail, it was thought to be 30 feet long and possibly weighing up to almost 9 tons. So this would have probably made Deinosuchus one of the biggest crocodiles that has ever lived on our planet. So let's be thankful that these guys did not survive to today, for just like the dinosaurs, even before the dinosaurs' extinction, they became extinct. But crocodiles as a whole would not share the dinosaurs' fate. They would survive, especially to live up into our time zone today. So let's talk about the alligator's role in nature today. First of all, before I continue, I want to share a little early wild thing with you. So for the longest time, we always believed that alligators were only found in the humid, mucky swamps of North America. But not very, very long ago, we discovered that China actually has a kind of alligator. So that means there are exactly 2 kinds of alligators in the world. Now, alligators in general American alligators are found in a good part of Texas, all of Louisiana and Florida, but also Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, parts of South Carolina, and then a little bit into North Carolina. But now, these predators, while very dangerous, They prefer to be left alone and serve in their role as apex predators in their river, pond, swampland, or wherever there's a huge body of water that they can easily slip into and hide. Now, generally, as I've said, this is a solitary animal that really doesn't want to have to share its home with one another. The only way that it probably would be able to is if the territory is big enough and or if there's just plenty to go around. So, not just territory size, but water as well as food and potential mates. So, during its breeding season, which really takes place in the early in the springtime, so around April and May, males kind of display to the females by doing a special kind of dance, as well as giving a kind of bellow that one kind of excites the females to see who could be a potential good father or who could help her produce strong chicks, as well as defend as well as ward off any rival males. So if you want to check out a special video of some alligators bellowing, I did recently grab a few footage of some that I'll gladly share with you later. But afterward, so he displays, and the female will actually let the male know that she wants to mate with him by blowing bubbles under his chin while in the water. After breeding, she starts to build a kind of nest that's very similar to that of a compost pile, and there she will lay anywhere from 20 to around 50 eggs. And here's another wild thing. The temperature of the nest will determine the sex of the offspring. So warmer nests encourage the development of males, while cooler temperatures encourage the development of females. But now, these nests are a big lure to many predators such as raccoons, otters, bears, and invasive feral hogs are problems. But I think they would rather try to make a run for it and find a much easier meal than have to deal with an angry mama reptile. After guarding her nest for a little over 60 days, the eggs begin to hatch, and the mom begins to look after them. She doesn't actually feed them, as when they're born, they have to learn how to hunt for themselves, but she will show some protection up until they get to a certain size, and then they have to go off on their own. So now, let's talk about food. Being an apex predator, they are pretty spoiled for choice. So, as they are offspring, as they're young, they usually feed on small invertebrates like small insects, fish, and whatever, even little baby tadpoles and such. But as they get older, their diets change. So they'll go for fish, turtles, frogs or amphibians, birds, and even reptiles, other reptiles such as snakes, and even mammals. But now, what do these guys have that's special? They have patience. They are just really, really good at waiting for the right opportunity to make their strike at their unsuspecting prey. They wait for the prey to have a false sense of security, and when it's really close enough, they spring into action, where with their tail, they're actually able to leap 5 feet out of the water. So this is a creature, as I've said, that demands serious respect, and you need to exercise extreme caution, especially around areas of water where you're not familiar with. Now, let's talk a little bit about their roles in human culture. So Native Americans actually saw these creatures as like a sign of rebirth and even patience and balance, even a form of wisdom. But now let's talk a little bit about what we know them today as. We know them for the logo of many different football teams like University of Florida's Gators, but also the famous Allegheny College in Pennsylvania, as well as the San Francisco State University football team. But of course, it gets even better. Disney has even provided a little special place with their alligator named Louis from Disney's 49th animated feature film, The Princess and the Frog. Well, I'm afraid that's all the time I have for today with the alligators. If you want to learn, but be sure to check out a special video all about reptiles so I can help you explain a few things that make these creatures really successful living in today's society. So be sure to join me in a few minutes. But until next week, this is Safari Mack. I'll see you all out there.